Good morning. Here we are at another exciting youth veterinarian initiative, which we call YVI session. And again, if some of you are new, this is an initiative to not only to reach young people that might be considering becoming a veterinarian, but it's also for animal lovers. Like I've got another stray dog that just showed up this morning. My granddaughter has already named him. and But it's for animal lovers. It is for STEM, science, technology, engineering. Oh, it's STEAM, arts and math. Like our esteemed Dr. Monique Wells showed us how in some of her previous sessions, how art even has something to do with even becoming a veterinarian. And it was so interesting. So make sure that if this is your first time listening to us, that you go back. I will make sure that you receive the links to my site and to Dr. Wells' site. Dr. Monique Wells, who is my counterpart, my co-partner in YVI, and see the previous episodes. So that being said, I want to introduce today our very esteemed veterinarian and just an all-around amazing woman, Dr. Maria Jose. And we're excited to feature her because she's had a very interesting life. She started as a PhD in Hanover, Germany, at the University of Veterinary Medicine, and returned to Chile and moved to, I think it's called Valdivia, as an assistant professor at the
Yes.
University of Austria de Chile. Then in 2019, she and her family moved to the Caribbean, where she is right now with that beautiful view, and where she's currently an assistant professor at the Ross University School of Veterinary Medicine, there in St. Kitts. And what's the other name? Is it Neva?
Nevis. Nevis.
Maybe.
St. Kitts and Nevis. Yeah.
Okay. So, as you can see, she's already right here and ready to go. So I'm going to let you take over the show, Marita.
Thank you, Sharita. Thank you, Monique, for the invitation to talk here today to all those youngsters that are interested in veterinary medicine, because veterinary medicine and sciences are such a beautiful topic, and it is amazing. If you love it, you will make a wonderful life out of it. So you are probably wondering why my name is so long. So actually, I'm called Maria Jose Constanza Navarrete Taloni, and it's because let me check my presentation. Yeah, it's because I was born here in the very southern part of South America, in this country called Chile. And it's not because of the chili, it's actually a native name that means beautiful country. And we are very well known in the world for being the first salmon producers, being copper producers, and also wine producers. So for the adults out there, you must try any of those wonderful Chilean wines. And after I finished my DVM there in Chile, I went to do my master's at UC Davis in California. And my focus was always pathology. I was interested in wildlife pathology, so I did a lot of field trips. So there is a rhino. We were doing some anesthesia and some minor procedures. On the right one, I was tracking a lion, a mountain lion. So that was really, really cool. And then after I finished, I was there with my actual husband. So after we finished our master's, I got a scholarship and we moved to Hanover in Germany. There I finished my PhD, and Hanover is also a wonderful city. I loved it. I loved the experience of living abroad in Europe and in the US. So I lived there for 4 years. And as Sharita said, after 6 years abroad, I went back to Chile, to Valdivia. So it was even further south. Also a beautiful city. I did there. I started with my professorship. So I was there as an assistant professor. And then 3 years ago, we moved again, but this time it was with all my family, my 2 kids and my husband, and we moved here to the Caribbean. So I'm in St. Kitts from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And you can imagine Miami is actually here. And this is Cuba, this is Puerto Rico, and we are here, this little tiny island in the middle of the Caribbean. So it's 2 islands, so it's a federation. And I'm living here in St. Kitts, and actually I'm located here in Basse-Terre. in Frigate Bay. So this is what I'm doing right now. This is one of the most known views of St. Kitts and Nevis. That is my family. And here we can do a lot of things. It's a very simple life, but with a lot of outdoor life. So I get to do a lot of snorkeling and hiking, and I love it. I really, really enjoy it a lot. And today I'm here because I'm going to talk about the amazing creatures of the Caribbean, but especially I'm going to focus um, in two groups of animals and species. One are the invasive species of the Caribbean, especially the ones in St. Kitts, and the other one is about corals, because probably not many of you know what corals are. And actually corals are animals, so that is also very interesting. So how do we define invasive species? And it's not because they are especially mean, it's because it's any organism, and you can think of animals, but also any plants that are not native from a place and that cause harm. So that is basically the main definition. And the problem is that these species are thriving in those new environments, and it's very, very hard to remove them from those environments. So I'm going to talk today about three species that we have here and that I have worked with. So one is the lionfish, the other one is the Indian mongoose, and the other one are the African vervet monkeys. So all the species were introduced, and I'm going to show you a little bit some pictures so you get to recognize them, and also a little bit of the history behind them. So I'm going to start with the lionfish. And I especially like this species because I've been doing extensive work on them. And this is a species that is not native to the Caribbean. So it's from the Indo-Pacific ocean. And then it was a beautiful fish. It got moved to the US as an ornament or as an aquarium fish, but someone decided that they didn't want the fish anymore, and they released them into the ocean. The thing is that these fish were able to reproduce there and actually thrive there, and they can actually have 2 million eggs per year. So they are very, very, um, they can do a lot of babies, and therefore they actually move from all the Florida area through the Caribbean, from Mexico to St. Kitts, and even in the very, very south in Trinidad and Tobago. So now it's full of lionfish. And the problem with this fish is that they are not native from here. So, but they do really well because they have so many babies, right? And they are voracious. They love to eat everything. So they are actually eating our Caribbean native species. And that is bad because the actual native species from here are adapted to this environment where we have a lot of corals and special reefs where they are very good, where they are actually keeping other fish on the line so they don't go over, so some species are not causing harm. But in this case, these lionfish are eating the native fish, and that is not good. So they can eat from fish to little mollusks to invertebrates, and they are very voracious. So they can, even though they are not that big, so some of them can be less than 1 pound, but they can eat a lot of baby fish. The thing is that these are also fish that are venomous. They are not poisonous, so you can eat them, which is good because that is one way we have been promoting in order to control them. So that is one of the main projects I have here, that is basically studying if these fish are healthy or not healthy in order to be able to eat them. They are being eaten all around the Caribbean, and we are promoting the lionfish consumption here in St. Kitts too, and it's delicious. I have tried it next to a very famous restaurant here in St. Kitts, and we a couple of weeks ago we were filming a video on how to prepare it, because you can prepare it. It's very you can prepare it in many different ways. So you can do ceviche, you can do it grilled, and it's very good. Is that you have to be careful about the venomous spines. So all the spines that you see here in like in the in the back and on the side. They have these venomous little spines that sometimes can harm the people that is handling them. So, and here you can have some of the photos I wanted to show you. So they can eat like everything, and you can have it like in one fish, probably 20 or less than 20 little fish. And one way of promoting the consumption is through the capture. Usually you do it with a spear gun. So it's not very popular. Like fishermen here are caught getting them because you have to go below the sea, or you need to dive. But there are several developments right now where they are developing these traps, so it's easier to catch them. So it's a very, very beautiful species, but also it's an invasive species, so that is producing a lot of harm. But one way to control it is actually through eating it, and it's very, very tasty. The other species I wanted to show you today, and we see them a lot, so as well as the lionfish, because there are so many, every time that we go diving, we can see them around. And this is another species that we get to see a lot around here, and that is the Indian mongoose. And the Indian mongoose got here in the late 1700s, when the British were actually creating colonies all around the Caribbean. And they were brought here to St. Kitts because there were a lot of snakes. And Indian mongooses are very, very well known for combating venomous snakes. So when they got here, they brought the Indian mongoose, and actually they extinguished all the snakes from St. Kitts. There are a few native snakes in Nevis, but there are no more venomous snakes here in St. Kitts. So they're very well prepared for fighting and eating these venomous snakes. They are very cute, but the problem is that also they are able to give birth 3 or 2 times a year, and they can have like 3 to 4 babies. And they usually live in large communities, and they are very, very voracious too. So they can eat from little insects to birds, and they are very well known also for eating eggs. So they can steal the eggs and eat the eggs from the different birds. And so that is also the harm that they are creating. In other islands, they have been tested positive for rabies, not here in St. Kitts. And rabies is a disease that is very bad also for the human being, not only for other animals, but for the human being. And it's 100% deadly. So there is no treatment for rabies. So not in St. Kitts, but in other islands, Indian mongooses have to be controlled in order to control this deadly disease too. But they are very, very cute. And as you can see here, they are actually everywhere. We see them from time to time crossing our street or running through our backyards. They are not very dangerous for the human being, but they can be very destructive for other species too. And the last one of our species today are the vervet monkeys. And we get to see them a lot here around our backyard because there are troops that cross every day in the morning and then in the afternoon, because they live, as you can see here in the other camera, but there is a lot of, like you can see there is like a reef, no, not a reef, but you know, like a very sharp mountain. So there is a lot of bushes there. So they live there in those trees around there, those ones. And then again, they're very, very good at having babies. So they have these huge troops. They can have like one baby. Usually they don't have twin babies. That can happen, but usually they don't have twins. But they can start reproducing when they are very, very young. And their pregnancy time is usually like 165 days. So they can usually have a baby per year. The babies, as you can see, or as you can imagine, stay with the mom for a long period of time, but they can become very active, reproductively active after they turn 1 year. So basically, when they have one baby, they can have another baby, but then the little baby can, if it is a female or a male, can still have another one. So they have these large troops. Why they are considered invasive is basically because they do a lot of harm to the agricultural areas. So that is the main issue. People here do not consider mongoose as bad as the African vervet monkeys because they are going to the crops and they are eating also the fruits and everything. So that is creating a lot of harm for the farmers. They can eat everything also, but they are especially herbivorous. So they eat flowers and seeds, and we can see them like going into the palm trees and eating some of the dattils and those things. So they are really, really beautiful and they love to be around. And usually it's just the thing about them going into the farms and eating all those fruits. So that is not very good for the farmers. And the last thing I wanted to talk to you today was about the corals. And I know Monique has a lot of interest in corals because they are such a unique species or animals. And we have lots of corals around here. There are different reefs all around the world in Australia, so Indo-Pacific, Australia, Thai, Indonesia, and Papua New Guinea. So all those areas have wonderful coral reefs. But here also in the Caribbean, we have lots of different species. And these are just some of the species that you can find here. So we have the star corals, and we have like 3 different types. As you can see there, the mountainous star coral, the boulder, and the great star coral. And then we have the brain corals, the group brain corals, the fan corals. So it's lots and lots of them. And what is interesting about this is that these are animals actually. So these are not plants, these are not insects, these are animals. And if you go and if you zoom in there, you can see how marvelous they are. They are so little tiny communities, and they all work together in order to thrive and to reproduce and in order to become a bigger community. Some of them, when you find them in this like deep reef coral, some of them can be like 5,000 years when they are like in this deep fossils in different areas of the world. In here, and they are newer, but also they have been struggling a lot because of the climate change. As you can see here, I wanted to show how diverse these corals are all around the world. We have this columnar, plate-like, foliaceous, so they look like leaves. There are some that are living like free living. There are some that do actually encrust in the rocks. So there is a huge variety. And when we talk about corals, we always think, oh, they are all look alike. And it's like saying, these are giraffes and these are elephants. So this is a completely different species. And I wanted to show you this because I think this is amazing. So corals, they do have tentacles and they have a mouth. They have these units that are called the polyps, and they have this calcareous or this very thick kind of bone skeleton, but they are all connected. So their mouth is actually going deep inside through this corallite, and they are connected to the next polyps. So they are all basically one big organism, but they are all independent. So it's like having multiple brains, and they are all working together to thrive in this environment. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, we are facing this huge coral loss, and it's not just in the Caribbean, it's all around the world. And it's, as you can see here, and I wanted to show this to the kids because this is something that we have the privilege probably to live, but it's getting worse and worse every year. And as you can see, in a period of 40 years or 50 years, the reefs have been changing a lot. And it's basically due to this loss of corals because of the environmental changes that are happening in our oceans. So it's basically a higher temperature, and there are so many factors that researchers have not been able to identify what is causing this massive loss. And also, we have been observing all these diseases right, that are happening to these different species of coral. So from bleaching to dark spots to light spots, but we have seen that they are becoming sick. And unfortunately, we don't know why and how to help them. But there are different efforts. And what I wanted to show on the positive side is that there are many corals that are doing good, and that researchers are studying them in order to find out why these corals are actually surviving or doing better and not getting sick. Corals are so important, and it's important because if we have corals, we have all the other environment diversity. So we have dolphins and fish and green turtles, and all that is basically sustained by these reefs. So if we don't have those reefs, we will not have the other animals or the other life that is actually so beautiful here in the Caribbean. So what you can do from your side to preserve your corals, and because it's your corals too, it's not our corals from the ones that are we living here, it's from everyone. So what you can do in order to save the corals is first conserve the water. The water is not an unlimited resource, and we need to do that. Use organic fertilizers, and that probably goes to the adults because many of those washed out to the sea and they damage the sea. Again, the sea is a limited amount of water. We think of the sea like being unlimited because we cannot see the end, but it's limited. And it's something that if we affect it here, it will get affected somewhere else. So it's kind of a butterfly effect. So sometimes you can organize, if you live close to a beach, organize a beach cleanup. If you ever visit a coral reef, well, leave no trace, right? So that is kind of the basic, leave no trace anywhere you go when visiting nature. Also, you need to talk about what is happening to the corals and get more information. I will be happy to provide more information about corals and probably more links and information and useful resources, and support and volunteer if you have the opportunity to go and check for these beautiful coral reefs. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed and learned about this presentation. And as I say, I love this phrase from Nelson Mandela that sometimes it is up to one generation to be great, but you can be that great generation. So thank you, Sharita and Monique, for inviting me. And I'm more than looking forward if you have any questions.
Oh my gosh, I do, but I'd rather wait to see if anyone else has questions, even our
Sure.
young people on.
I want to thank you also, Maria Jose. That was fantastic. And you've told me everything that you've said is what I know about corals right now, other than the fact that they exist. I had a sort of a calcified brain coral for years, and I didn't even really know what it was. So now I've seen that and I can put that in context.
Yay.
And I'm really excited. And I see that we have Jeremiah Apouncy on the call. I met Jeremiah I think it was yesterday, if not yesterday, the day before. I think it was yesterday. But Jeremiah, I would like for you to come off mute and introduce yourself. He is a pre-vet student and he loves exotic animals. And I would like Jeremiah to come off. Can you do that, Jeremiah? Are you there actually? He was so excited to learn about this.
Yeah, I think he is around because he was.
Oh, he said, thank you, great presentation. Maybe he's unable to come off.
Oh wait, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm outside right now. Let me see. All right, can you guys see me?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Jeremiah.
Hello. Hello. I was trying to get like my microphone and everything like situated, but I forgot what question you had asked me. I heard the introducing myself, but then I saw you talking as well, but I couldn't hear anything.
I want you to introduce yourself, and I want you to talk about your love of exotic animals. Maria Jose has talked about 3 invasive species in St. Kitts, lionfish, mongoose, the Indian mongoose, and
Mhm.
the African vervet monkey, and then she talked about corals. And I know you love exotic animals, so I'm
Yes, very
so
much so.
excited that you're here. So go ahead.
All right, yes. Hello, my name is Jeremiah Pouncey. I go to North Carolina A&T down in Greensboro, North Carolina, but I live in Fredericksburg, Virginia. That's where I'm at right now. After my undergrad, which I'm majoring in animal science, minoring in entrepreneurship and chemistry, I plan on going to vet school and
Okay.
specializing or focusing in on exotic animals. After vet school, I plan on opening up my own practice. And if you can imagine like the biggest hospital that you know, but just for animals, I want to further research on getting prosthetics on animals, have a rescue and rehabilitation division, me doing exotic, somebody else can do small animals, somebody else can do large and farm animal. Also incorporate research in that and a whole bunch of other ideas and things that I have.
But that's
But
great.
just try and like make a place and space for people that have like dreams and visions, just to give them the team that they need to be able to make those dreams and visions come true and have the place to be able to do so. So that's my dream goal and everything. And I'll be studying abroad in Thailand in the spring semester, and then hopefully shadowing under a vet in Australia for the summer. So that's the plan. And I just love
Wow.
exotic animals. It's just, and you don't see them every day. Every time like I hear stories from like exotic vets or anybody doing research with exotic animals, it's always changing. There's always new experiences. Being able to travel, experience new cultures. I just love that. I feel like it makes everybody better people when they're able to experience better new cultures and everything. But
Absolutely.
yeah, that's that's me.
Wow.
Yay.
But yeah,
Nice
A
to
lot,
meet you,
Jeremiah.
Jeremiah.
nice meeting you too, and great
Now,
presentation
Jeremiah,
as well.
Thank you.
you mentioned something about, did you say Taiwan?
I'm studying abroad in Thailand in the
Thailand.
spring semester. Yes. Oh,
How
what did
did
you
you
say?
end up making that? How did you end up making that connection?
Oh, so there's this study abroad program called Loop Abroad, and I'm going through them to do a veterinary semester abroad. So being able to work with on an elephant sanctuary, also do some large or small like domestic animals, helping with dogs and cats at the rescue because there are a lot of stray dogs and cats in Thailand. Um, and then also getting scuba certified, doing some conservation diving, working with marine life. So they have it like the whole program all set up. But yeah, that's how I'm doing that. And then the funding
Well,
portion is from my scholarship, being able to transfer the money that I'd be getting from my scholarship from my school to the study abroad program. So that gave me the opportunity to be able to do the study abroad program. And I was supposed to be going there this fall,
well,
so in like a couple weeks, but COVID, so it had to be pushed to the spring.
well, we would love to follow you if you have a blog or something, so we could follow your journey.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm actually like in the process of developing a website because I just have a whole bunch of different ideas from this like my vet journey and everything. And I just self-published a book in October. So I also want to do some stuff with publishing, helping other people publish. And then also I'm into like global warming, climate change. I developed a project for my university, which involves getting solar panels on the dorm buildings, getting the diesel shuttle bus fleet converted to electric shuttle buses, and then getting electric vehicle charging stations on campus. So then that as well. But I just need a place to be able to like show that. So I'm actually in a process of developing a website. And then once I finish it and everything, then I'll definitely be in contact with you guys or let you guys know and all that.
Yeah, and let
Absolutely.
us know how we can get your book. And
Okay, for sure.
I'm thank you for being on. And where are you located right now?
Fredericksburg, Virginia. So like a hour south of DC, an hour north of Richmond, Virginia.
Great. Thank you for being on. While I'm running my mouth, Maria, I have a couple of questions. When you first started your slides and you showed those two beautiful mountains, and you said that that's one of the most viewed or that people know for the area, what are those?
So that is a view from the Atlantic side and from the Caribbean side. So you are
Okay.
actually looking, so if you can see that mountain there, like very close there, I don't know. You can see it in the other side there. So behind those clouds, that is nevis, but those shallow mountains, that is the so-called the peninsula. So that is the oldest part of the island. So basically there are not a lot of people living there because it was in eons of years, so long time ago. We have a volcano here. So there are two volcanoes, one in Nevis and the other one is here in St. Kitts. So volcanoes actually, or the earth moves around and they drag the earth around. Okay, so that's where the volcano started basically, but it started moving. So now this is the southern part of the island and the volcano is in the northern part of the island. So that view is basically showing you that peninsula looking towards Nevis, and on one side, on the left side is the Atlantic Ocean, and on the other side is the Caribbean Sea.
Okay, okay. And then my other question is, most of the time when people see corals, like they buy them in gift shops or something and they're hard, are all corals hard like that? Or are there some that are not? Or is that the way they start out? Or
yeah, so there are hard corals and soft corals. So there are two types of corals. The ones that are hard, they build this calcareous skeleton basically. And there are softer corals that they do get that skeleton too, but it's softened and it kind of destroys with time. So it's not that hard or hardcore calcium core, basically skeleton. Yes.
so when they're hard in the ocean, they're still alive?
No, so when they are alive, they have that hard skeleton, but they also have an epithelium. So they have like cells, and they are alive. So they are covered by these live cells, and that is kind of softer. So sometimes you get to see them when they are like all white. That is just basically the skeleton. So that is basically what you get to see when they are this die of corals, that you get just these skeletons of corals. But what you get to see when they are alive, they have beautiful colors. If you get closer, they move their tentacles around, depending on the species, of course, but they are a little bit softer and smoother in the outside.
Okay, so if young people might have an interest, like I remember when I was young, I wanted to be an oceanographer. You know, if there's a young person that has an interest in maybe joining a program where they can help save the corals, do you know of any, or should they just kind of research something online?
Sure. University of Florida does a lot of coral research in cooperation with Caribbean states and countries. So they do a lot of work with the Bahamas. In the Bahamas, there is a beautiful, beautiful program also for marine biologists. So there are programs, and basically you get a lot of involvement of marine biologists into corals, not veterinarians, because many of us didn't know that corals were animals till we got to be really old into our profession. There, and that's why it's so complicated, because nobody knows why they are dying, and that's why veterinarians have been called to come into their conversation. And I started doing a little bit of pathology. I am not at all an expert in pathology, coral pathology. I have several colleagues that have been doing it for many years. But I mean, it's such an important animal in our reefs that we need to start worrying about it and doing research and start doing something.
Okay, okay, all right.
So our
are there any?
corals, I have a question.
Sure.
So what kinds of animals eat corals?
Oh, there are different types of animals. So there are fish, like the parrotfish. They go around and they kind of eat the surface of the coral, so that keeps them, they are not destroying the corals, they are keeping them healthier. So keeping them like from overgrowing and from some bad things that could happen to the corals, like algae depositions and so on. There are other like mollusks that do eat them, like do eat actually corals, and there are these there are many of them, but also like crustaceans that do live like in fan corals, and they also like to eat the corals. They do actually eat them. But again, like the species that eat corals are beneficial to the overall environment. It's not that they are destroying them. But that's why we have to be aware of these invasive species, because when one species come into a reef that is not their own reef, and they just try and eat everything that is there available for them, and then yeah, unfortunately they start to destroy unique reefs around.
And so the lionfish that you talked about at the beginning, are they contributing to the death of the coral reef?
At some point, yes, because they are eating a lot of the fish or the baby fish that are keeping the corals healthy. So when we have these species that are so voracious and are eating all the little fish that are actually beneficial to the reefs, then yeah, they are diminishing the population of fish that are important to these Caribbean reefs. So yeah, so it's a little bit indirect, right? So it's not that they are eating the corals directly or that they are affecting directly the reefs, but they are affecting it through eating the species that are native and that are beneficial for them.
Okay.
Okay.
Shrita, you had another question?
I think I was getting ready to ask if anyone had any other questions.
Okay.
Now, the other thing too, what is the most destructive for corals? If I missed that, because that's devastating. Looking at the difference from 1975 to now.
No, it's terrible. It's catastrophic, I would say, and especially because it's been accelerated in the last 20 years. So it was very slowly during the 70s and 80s, and probably it's been decimating the coral populations all around in the last 10 to 20 years. So scientists do not really know what specific factor is causing this coral loss. They know that there are being lots of changes in the water salinity and temperature that may be influencing this deaths of. Also, these emerging diseases that they cannot really identify what specific, if it is a bacteria or if it is a virus, if it is a toxin, they have tried, they have found out that like globality is causing this, basically ships moving around, bringing probably these infectious, they don't know what, but infectious things from one side to the other, contamination in general. So it seems to be multifactorial.
So all the things, like even when you mentioned fertilizer, the things that are getting into our water, we just need to really be careful of.
Absolutely.
Even cleaning up pet poop, right?
Yeah, absolutely, because that brings a lot of infectious microorganisms into the sea. But also one of the things that they have, so there are many toxic molecules that are destroying the corals, like some components in the solar screen, so in the sunscreens. So that's why I was reading, I think it was today morning or yesterday, that Thailand actually banned like sunscreens that are not coral friendly from many of their nature parks. And it's basically because and you don't, I mean, if you don't know that, well, you just don't know, right? So many of these sunscreens are very, very bad for coral. So there is this mineral sunscreens that are coral friendly. So I will highly recommend to start using those instead of the other ones.
So all these things that we use, like they say, protect your children before they get in the ocean, put on the sunscreen. No one's thinking about that you're putting on this sunscreen, but it's coming off in the water and it's affecting the ocean and the ocean. Wow. Oh, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that you can actually start doing. That is Yeah, because I mean, most of us, we don't work with fertilizers in huge amounts, but it's good to keep those, you know, those factors in mind. Like if you are going to use something that could be affecting the environment, well, try not to use it and try to find like an organic or an alternative that is not that bad for the environment.
Right, right. Okay. Well, you guys, this little darling that keeps getting in the screen, this is her name is Eartha Cat instead of Eartha Kit.
I love
But for
it.
a lot of times when I get on and there's conversation, she likes to get up and be in it, I guess. So, are there any other questions?
I have a question. You
Okay.
talked about biology, marine biologist Maria Jose, and how veterinarians have not traditionally been involved in the study of corals and their diseases and everything. Can you just talk about how veterinarians can be involved in just the study of the ocean and marine biology and oceanography and all of that? If people really love the sea and want to be a veterinarian, what kinds of things can they anticipate doing?
Absolutely. So being a veterinarian is, and that's what I love about being a veterinarian, is that you can have so many different tracks. There are veterinarians that are hardcore clinician veterinarians and surgeons of small animals, but there are tracks that are kind of alternative. And pathology has helped me a lot about getting to see different animals from different species and different environments. So from the land to the sea, actually. So when you are interested in water or marine life, veterinary is a little bit, yeah, veterinary medicine studies are a little bit awkward because you will have to study from birds to cows and dogs to, I don't know, turtles. So there are some programs that do include a lot of marine related or water related animals. And as I said, or as I commented before, I know from University of Florida having a large program running in parallel with veterinary medicine that is focused in marine animals. And again, from marine animals, you can have marine mammals, you can have turtles, you can have fish, you can have coral. So again, it's like expanding. And I do believe also that veterinarians have an education that provides kind of a very good overview of many factors. So they are very good in the teams when you have marine biologists and others. But also you need a transdisciplinary team in this type of research. So you need marine biologists, toxicologists, chemistry, or chemists, engineers. So everyone will contribute. We have also like a narrow kind of, so we can provide an overview, but we also are focused in medicine. So I think having a transdisciplinary group helps a lot to solve these very complex problems. But yeah, I think there are some programs that provide a better marine life or water animal type of education.
That's
And I
great.
just want to remind everyone, our young people, that what you see behind Maria is the actual Caribbean Ocean.
Yay.
I mean, you are real seeing the Caribbean. And so that
Yeah.
is not a background, a
No,
fake
it's not a
background.
background.
So,
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's the Caribbean Sea.
are there other questions?
I have another question.
Well, if oh, go ahead.
I have another question, and this will be
sure.
my last question because I know we're over
No,
time.
it's okay.
But I'm
It's
just so
okay.
excited. So going back to the mammals that you talked about the Indian mongoose and you talked about the African vervet monkey. So I remember you saying that the British brought the mongoose to the
And the
Caribbean
monkeys. The
and the
monkeys too.
monkeys.
Yeah, I
Okay,
forgot about the monkeys.
okay. So the monkeys is there an overpopulation of monkeys? Who is controlling the monkey population?
Yeah, so that's why they become harmful, right? So they were brought by the British, and the thing is that they don't have any natural predators here.
Mhm.
So that's why they become and they grow and grow and grow, and nobody actually is eating them. Nobody meaning like another animal larger animal. Same thing with the mongoose. Nobody, there are no other predators for mongooses. So the problem there is that they become problematic because there are so many troops around that they go into the farms and they eat all these fruits and veggies. And of course, it's going to be a loss for the farmer, and it's a huge economical loss. So one of the things that countries like St. Kitts and Nevis have been trying to do is to use them for scientific research. So what they do is that they trap them. There are facilities here that keeps them and sell them around the world, because animal models are very important for human diseases. So there are different types of animal models, from mice to dogs and chicken and also monkeys. And these specific monkeys from these islands are very good for research because they do not have some viruses or some diseases that do have the monkeys from Africa. So several research facilities want or need the monkeys that are healthier, and that's how many of the monkeys have been controlled. So they get to be trapped and then sent to these facilities. Others have been also like just to hunt them, and they pay more. Instead of killing them, they do pay more for having the monkeys alive and then selling them to these research facilities. But that is also allowed to hunt the monkeys.
And when they're hunted, are they just destroyed? I mean, buried or burned,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
they're not eaten.
So no, I have heard stories, but I don't know how true that is. I have heard stories. Probably there are a few people that do eat monkeys, but it's nothing that you can get to see or find in a meat market or anything. No.
Okay. Okay.
Either the mongooses. Nobody. Actually, everyone loves the mongooses. Not the monkeys, but mongooses. They love them. So.
Okay.
And they are really cute. Monkeys and mongooses. They are wonderful.
Okay. Those are my questions.
This has been absolutely a wonderful session. So informative. I mean, I had no idea all of what you were talking about, or as far as corals, and you just don't, people don't think about when they're bringing, whether it's plants or animals, to a new location. They have no idea the impact that it can have. But that just reminded me of when in living in California, at the border, if you're driving into California, they stop you and ask you, do you have any fruits, vegetables, live. That just opened up my eyes even more on why they ask that, because
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
you think, why are you asking me if I have fruits or vegetables? But you could be, in those fruits or vegetables could be beetles or bugs or something that you're bringing that can start destroying crops and everything, right?
Yeah, and diseases. Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
You get the same questions when you travel abroad.
Yeah.
When you travel on a plane, I mean, at the airport, they're always asking you that. When you enter a new country, after you get off of a plane, they ask you that.
Yeah, in Chile, for example, Chile is very kind of isolated because it's a long country, right? And we have the Andes Mountains on one side, we have the desert on the north, and then it ends on the Antarctica, basically. And then we have the sea. So it has, or it behaves kind of an island in terms of diseases and parasites and invasive species. So they are very restrictive when you are traveling there about if you are bringing any type of meat products or seeds or fruits or veggies. So that has allowed the country to keep like a very good health, animal and plant health status. So yeah, they're very jealous about it.
So young people, please know that when there are rules and regulations on bringing in all of what she's been talking about in plants, there's a reason. Because bringing one foreign plant or object, or like what's going into the ocean, can change the whole, what do you call it, not habitat, the whole
ecosystem.
The whole ecosystem. So that's really important to know. And so Maria, you have just been such an interesting guest, and
Thank you so much.
we would love to have you on again. And
Absolutely.
so, good. Well,
It was a great experience. Thank you, Sharita. Thank you, Monique, for the invitation. And thank you, everyone. Don't hesitate to contact me or get my contact through Monique or Sharita. I will be more than glad to answer all your questions or send you information.
Wonderful.
You know, it would be wonderful, Monique, with the way we've been talking about the program expanding. Wouldn't it be great to take a group of kids to the Caribbean? And
it would be wonderful.
Yeah.
That'd be
so
fantastic.
that's the goal. That's a goal for us. And Jeremiah may meet us there, and we've got Artis and Elijah on, and you know, everyone will just be a part of this whole big trip that we'll have.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Sounds
for
amazing.
sure.
Beautiful.
So thank you again. You guys have a wonderful rest of your Saturday and weekend. Maria, we will be in touch. We thank you again for being on. And I can't say Maria as beautiful as you and Monique do. I have a trouble rolling my tongue.
Maria Jose. And I want to say thank you for specifically, thank you for taking the time to be with us, because you have your board exam this Tuesday. When you become a veterinarian, you have to pass a board exam. And when you become a veterinary specialist, there's even another exam. And Maria Jose is getting ready to take her board exam for pathology. And she took time out of her busy schedule to be with us. So just from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
No, thank you guys. It was a great pause in my study. So I really appreciate your invitation, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay. And just one other quick thing. Jeremiah, you're out of Philadelphia, right? I think Elijah is on with us from Uganda. Artis is right here in Arkansas. Maria, you're there in the Caribbean. Monique, you're there in Paris. And I'm here in Arkansas. So it's just so
Jeremiah
wonderful.
is in Virginia.
Virginia. So here we are again, communicating from all over the world with our STEM program. And I just want to thank everyone for being on. Have an absolutely phenomenal rest of the weekend.
Yes.
See you next time.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. You guys too.
Bye.
Thank you, Maria.
Bye-bye. Thank you.